Hey everyone, welcome to this webinar. We are going to start in just about a minute. Amazing. We have a lot of people from India, Ukraine, Cyprus, Portugal, New York. Awesome, awesome. A lot of different people here. Almost 200 people we have already on the call. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So we're just getting started now. Awesome. Okay, what's up, everyone? So today we are diving into what I believe is the single biggest shift in digital marketing since SEO itself. Generative engine optimization, as some people are calling it, others are calling it answer engine optimization, large language model optimization, and all kinds of things. But we'll call it GEO for today because that's, I think, the most popular term for this right now. And yeah, we'll proceed with that. Now, this is not exactly a buzzword right now, if you think about it. Already, so many people, like hundreds of millions of people, are using AI search platforms. So, this is turning out to be a fundamental shift in how people actually find information online. So, that behavior is sort of changing quite drastically. And 90% of the marketers are still focused on traditional SEO techniques back from 2020. They're optimizing for keywords, backlinks, while an entirely new game is being played that most of them are not even aware of. So by the end of this webinar, you'll sort of understand what GEO is, how does it work, and we'll also share some strategies that will help you optimize your or your clients' websites to rank on these AI search engines much before your competitors do. So let's get right into it. Okay. So here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. First, I'll just talk about how search has evolved in the last couple of years, in the last, let's say, 2 decades, and the rules have kind of completely changed since then. Then we'll break down what GEO actually is, how is it different from traditional SEO. Then thirdly, we'll also talk about how AI search engines actually work, things like retrieval augmented generation. And then after that, we'll be talking about, 5 specific techniques that research has proven to work for getting your content cited in AI responses, whether it is ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, whichever platform that is. And we'll also look at certain tools that will help you track your brand presence on these different AI models. And it will also help you sort of figure out, what exactly needs to be done to optimize your website or your content for these platforms. So let's get into this. Now, if you see my screen, here's a quick overview of how the search game has changed in the last 2 decades. So we started with Web 1.0 in 2000s when search was really simple. You got those 10 blue links, which still exist, but you clicked on them, websites got traffic, and that was it. Now, around 2010, that's when Web 2.0 came about. We started seeing featured snippets, knowledge panels, rich results. And the game was still about getting clicks, but now you could get more visibility at the top of the page via featured snippets and all of these SERP features. And then finally, since like 2022 or 2023, when ChatGPT and LLMs came into the picture, it's like a complete paradigm shift. So we have entered Web 3.0, where it's more about AI generated search answers now. And the goal is not no longer about just getting clicks. It's about sort of being cited and um, just being mentioned by these platforms. Now, if you think about it for a second, for 20 plus years, the entire digital marketing industry has been, built around driving traffic to websites. And now suddenly success means having your brand mentioned in an AI generated answer, even if the user never even visits your website. So this is like a huge shift in that strategy there.
Hey, hi Sam, I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, our slides are not moving, and I think we are seeing only the title slide.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yeah, visible now. Thank
Okay,
you.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, I think hopefully you can see it now. Yeah, so I talked about this one, but just moving on. Um, Here are a couple of numbers that we've gotten from different researches that recently happened around Google AI overviews as well as large language models. So just in the last 6 months, if you see, up to 30% of Google searches now show AI overviews. And for how to query specifically, that jumps to 74%. That's a huge amount of AI overviews covering, the traditional search queries. And when AI answers appear, the organic click-through rates actually plummet by up to 44%. So this isn't like a future trend. It's actually happening right now and already accelerating. If you've heard about Google's new AI mode, which is like a sort of like a chat GPT or a Gemini integrated right inside Google search, that will further increase the amount of AI generated responses there. And the business implementing Geo today will gain like a huge benefit advantage over other businesses who are playing catch up in the next 6 months. So the earlier you start, the better. This is like how SEO was like 20, 25 years back. Now, let's talk about what even is GEO. So in simple terms, if I say it's like the practice of optimizing your content to be selected, cited, and featured in AI generated answers across these different platforms, whether it is Google's AI overviews, ChatGPT, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, and all of these AI driven search platforms. Now, while traditional SEO focused on ranking in search results to get clicks to your website, Geo focuses on ensuring your brand and content are visible right inside the AI response, even if the user never visits your website. So you want to be cited as a source, quoted as an authority, and referenced as a solution right inside the chat result itself. So it doesn't really matter so much if you're ranking or not there. It's more about how much brand presence you have there. Let's see this with an example. So if you see the screen on the left-hand side, if you do a traditional search query like best project management tools, you would see something like this, where there are tons of ads. Apart from that, there's also a lot of pop-ups, tracking notices, you know, tons of other kinds of spam there, right? And the user needs to spend 10, 15 minutes just figuring out, reading through multiple blogs and figuring out, what exactly are the best project management tools. But now the same thing, if you look on the right-hand side, this is a response from an AI model, in this case, ChatGPT, but you get an immediate response there where it gives you a listicle kind of a thing with the top 5 or 10 project management tools listed out, along with also certain things mentioned that, this is the best overall tool or this specific tool is good for AI and all those kinds of things. Now, from a user perspective, this is massively superior as compared to traditional search because the experience is just much better. You are spending less time. You're getting much more accurate responses, and this is just changing the whole behavior of the user base around how search worked or used to work. But now for us as marketers, this creates a huge challenge. Like, how do we ensure our brand or our clients' brands are part of this new experience when the user never even visits your website? So that's exactly what we are going to solve today. Before going further, let's talk about how AI search actually works. So to understand this better, if you see this sort of flow chart, the first thing that AI does is it analyzes the question to understand the real user intent, not just the keywords, but the actual intent behind the prompt or the query. Then next thing what it does is it retrieves relevant documents from the web or its web index. This is called RAG. I'll talk more about it shortly. Next, it evaluates these sources for quality, relevance, and authority. And then based on all of these things, then it generates a comprehensive answer, citing only the best sources. So even though it might have considered, let's say, 10 different sources, it will only cite the ones where, which ones were being used to generate the actual answer. So even if you are in the top 10 results, but only, let's say, 3 out of those 10 results were used to generate that answer, those 3 results will only be cited and not the other 7. And the last step here also is there's like a learning thing in place here where it learns from user feedback and the models sort of improve over time. Now, the key insight here is that these systems aren't just matching keyword, like how it used to be before. They're actually evaluating the usefulness and credibility of your content. So again, EEAT also plays a big role here for answering those specific questions. Just quickly talking about RAG, you must have heard about this term quite a bit lately. So RAG basically means retrieval augmented generation. This is a new sort of paradigm that is being used in AI chatbots, like the modern AI chatbots, and also AI search platforms. So in simple terms, how it works is that the AI system pulls in relevant information from the web to answer questions. So when, let's say, you are a user, you ask a specific question, it doesn't just answer it based on the training data. It basically does three steps. One, it will retrieve specific documents from the web index. So if it is Google, they already have a very big web index. In case of some other tools, they retrieve it from some other data source. Then they use those documents as context in the prompt that the platform provides. And then on the basis of certain specifications that the platform has mentioned, it will combine all that information, select certain pieces, and then generate a response based on all of those documents. Um, and this is very important to understand because it means that your content needs to be very easily retrievable and usable by these systems for it to actually mention or cite you in those responses. So structuring your content here plays a very big role. And just to clarify the differences between SEO and GEO now. So with SEO, if you see the difference, the focus was on keywords and ranking. So it was all about certain keywords and ranking on the first position, second position, first page, all those kinds of things, and just driving traffic to your website. Content was often long form, like 5,000 words, 10,000 words, with a lot of keyword stuffing. And we measured success through traffic metrics, like how much traffic or unique viewers a specific blog or a page was getting. But Geo is kind of, in a way, similar, but it takes it a step further, where we are now optimizing to be cited within these AI answers. So success isn't measured in clicks, but in how often and how prominently your brand appears in AI responses. So content needs to directly address specific questions with authority and clarity. And the good news is that both approaches are important now. You can't just focus on one of them. And none of them are replacing each other. It's basically going to work in conjunction with each other. And they'll evolve over time, but right now both of them work in parallel. So uh, here are some data points based on a paper called Generative Engine Optimization. I guess that's where the name came from. So if you Google Generative Engine Optimization paper, you'll see there's a paper, like a joint research done by Princeton and IIT, where they tested various content optimization methods to see what actually works for GEO. Specifically, in this case, they tested Google AI overviews, and they also tested ChatGPT and a few other systems. So the results were quite eye-opening. If you see on the left-hand side first, just by adding relevant quotations from authoritative sources, boosted the visibility of that specific piece of content by up to 41%. Statistics, if you included statistics and data in your blog, let's say, it increased visibility by up to 30%. Similarly, adding citations, improving the clarity of the content, using appropriate technical terms, all significantly increased how often and how prominently content was cited. Again, this is, the test was done on a lot of different data points, but still this is, take it with a pinch of salt because the systems are evolving almost every week now. But this was like a very interesting research done by them there. And now I'm going to show you how to sort of implement these strategies. So based on both academic research as well as our own testing across different websites, there are these 5 most effective geo strategies that we have found to work best right now. Of course, things are changing very quickly in this space. So, things will change over time, but these are the 5 ones which we found to be the most relevant based on our research. So the first one is to answer specific questions directly instead of writing tons of text. Second is to include specific statistics and data points through your content. I'll go deep into each of these in a second. Third is adding expert quotes and citations to boost your authority. Fourth is to structure your content in like a Q&A format. And then fifth is to optimize your images and videos so that AI is able to understand them better. Let's break down each one of them. So the very first thing I talked about was to, answer the questions directly. So look at this before and after example. The before version starts with a general statement about email marketing. It's decent content, but it's not structured for AI. Same thing if you see on the right-hand side, the after version explicitly frames the content as a question that a user might actually ask, followed by a clear structured answer. And this works perfectly because it aligns with how AI search engines process queries. When the AI sees content already structured as a direct answer to a specific question, it's much more likely to pick it up for its response in terms of its RAG pipeline. Second thing I mentioned was to include specific statistics and data points. Again, look at these examples here. So the first one is something like our software helps businesses improve customer service. Again, no data, no nothing here. It sounds nice, but it's not compelling enough, whether for a human or for an AI engine. The after version transforms this into a specific credible statement with multiple data points. So it says something like our software helps businesses improve customer service by 37%, again, data, with clients seeing 42% faster response time, according to our 2024 survey of 500 plus users. So if you see a lot of different data points which back each one of them and adds like a lot of credibility using these data points. And this works because AI systems are designed to provide factual specific information in terms of a RAG context. So when your content contains precise data points, AI is much more likely to prefer your content to someone else's content there. Third strategy is to add expert quotes, citations, and leverage PR. PR plays a very big part here. And this example shows how to properly integrate quotes and references. And this works quite well if you see, because first AI systems are trained to recognize and value attribution. They want to cite certain credible sources, and users also expect, where did that information come from? Second is quotes actually provide short, concise, pre-packaged statements that are perfect for AI systems to extract and include them in their responses. And then there's a broader aspect which is very important, which is PR. So if you think about it, many of the AI models, or most of the AI models actually, if you use it without search, they are trained like once a year or in multiple years, right? If you think about GPT-4o, I think last time it was trained was on 2023 data. So what happens is if you don't use search there, let's say, and ask it about your brand, the response that will give you would be a sort of like a combination of the stuff that the model has trained on, which is most probably the web sources it trained on from 2022 or 2023. So if there were a lot of Reddit threads or social media or PR, which was negative about your brand, so then inherently the AI model will also have a bias, like a negative bias towards your brand and talk in a negative way about your brand. But same thing if you had a good PR and a positive PR, then in that case, it would talk in a good way about your brand. So that's why digital PR and PR in general is like really important to make sure that going forward, like months or years going forward, the perception of your brand for these different AI models is positive and not negative due to certain things. Fourth strategy is also very important, which is basically to create comparison tables and basically structured data. So if you look at this comparison table, it's not just visually appealing for humans, but also for AI systems because it provides clear structured information that's easy to extract. So what makes this particularly powerful is that it combines several of our earlier strategies. It includes facts and statistics. It's clearly structured, and it also directly addresses what the user was looking for in terms of comparing different products or services. And why it works well is, one, AI systems can extract structured data much better. Secondly, when you add proper schema markup to these tables, in terms of FAQ schemas, in terms of any other specific schemas, you're essentially giving it a machine readable version of your data, which is much easier for it to understand. And then the comparison table also positions you as an authority because, uh, you know, you are basically confident there where you're able to compare your solution against alternatives. Of course, you should not demean your competitors or anything here because that has a little bit of a negative impact there. But just very positively with proper data points, if you're able to compare with different competitors or in general, that helps a lot. And then the fifth strategy here is to optimize your visual content. So while AI has gotten much better at seeing images, if you think about GPT-4 o 01 and all these uh, Omni models, but it still primarily understands the world through text. That's still the primary medium. So for your images, videos, and infographics to be valuable, You need for images like detailed alt text that explains what the image actually shows, not just a general description. For videos, you need proper transcripts. So if you're uploading anything on YouTube or even your own website, having transcripts is very important because there's a lot of the textual data that the model will learn from there. And then third thing is to also, as we discussed before, to provide schema markup for any structured inputs. And this matters because multimedia content with proper descriptions is like 40% more likely to be referenced in AI responses compared to just images with like no or basic descriptions or alt tags. Right. Now, this is another very interesting study which came from, I think, First Page Sage, which examines what are the different criteria points based on which different platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these recommend certain products or services. So if you see this diagram on the left hand side, authoritative list mentions account for 41% of the algorithm. So if you are much more likely to be mentioned in ChatGPT responses, if someone asks for, let's say, best AI tool for this or whatever that term for you is, if you have been mentioned in like an authoritative listicle by someone else, like let's say Forbes or some other top industry company in your space. Next, then you have is awards and accreditations. Then you have online reviews, customer examples, social sentiment. So it's in this order that it gives preference in terms of ranking those results. Google Gemini also, if you see, still the authoritative list mentions is important, and it's even higher. It's 49% of the cases that it prefers those as compared to some of these other things. So very strong and a clear takeaway here is that securing mentions in these high-ranking listicles in your industry or popular publications, is something that should be your top GEO priority. Some more stats here. So the growth story for AI search is kind of staggering. Google search itself, people were saying that, oh, Google's market share is dropping and all that, but actually it grew by 21.64% last year. And AI overviews are being used by more than 1 billion people worldwide now. And what is particularly interesting here is that 76% of AI cited content actually comes from the top 5 Google results. So having yourself being mentioned on those top 5 results is still very, very important. And this creates a tremendous opportunity for brands, who can optimize both traditional search and AI citations together. Now, now that we understand how AI algorithms work, it's also very important to prioritize your time in terms of if you were to take out some time along with traditional search every week to sort of spend time on optimizing for geo alongside. This is how I would recommend, that you should sort of divide your time based on, again, research from First Page Sage. So the largest chunk of your time, about 3 to 5 hours per week, should go towards increasing your website authority. Again, due to some of those signals we mentioned before, through regular high quality content like you have been doing. Avoid fluff and all those things like we discussed before, but still content is not going away. It builds your overall credibility, your topical authority in terms of both search engines, traditional search engines, and also AI platforms. The next biggest chunk is, to spend maybe 1 to 4 hours on securing placement and high authority listicles. This could be in your target industry. This could be certain standard ones like, Forbes and all these different websites. And along with that, you should also maybe spend some time creating your own authoritative listicles if you're able to get yourself to rank higher because you have a good DR, backlinks, all those kinds of things. And then also maybe 1 or 2 hours per week spend on publicizing your company achievements so that there's a positive sort of PR or awareness happening there. 30 minutes in building positive reviews, and then another 30 minutes overall just monitoring social sentiment. If you see some user give negative feedback for you, just go and sort of reach out to that user, ask them to update it. Well, it's possible that some AI model is training on that and might reflect in some model like months or years down the line. Now, another thing I covered briefly, you might have already heard about this, but Google is also announcing this AI mode. So effectively, it's answer to ChatGPT search. So it's basically going to be a chat right inside search, powered by Gemini 2.0. And this is designed for power users, as they say, but it will very quickly become mainstream. So it's even more important that you get started now so that, as this becomes mainstream, you have a first mover advantage there. Now, I'll be showing two different ways or two different tools that we have recently built out to help you sort of track your brand presence and your traffic that you're getting from different AI platforms. So I'll just share my other screen. Give me a second. All right. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen again. So there's this tool that we very recently launched. It's a totally free tool. You don't need a subscription or anything for this. It's called AI Traffic Analytics. This is sort of like you can think of it like Google Analytics, but for large language models or AI search platforms. So how this is different from Google Analytics or any of those other platforms is, this is specifically built for tracking traffic from different models like ChatGPT, Perplexity, all of those. How we do this is it's not like, how traditional sort of analytics work, where you sort of install like a script on your website on the client side. This actually works on the server side. So basically, there are a couple of different integration mediums we have. If you use Cloudflare, if you use WordPress, couple of other things we have, Vercel and stuff. So you basically install this on your server side so that we are able to very accurately track which bots from these AI platforms are visiting your website. And then we can also track the human visits from those AI models then, and then create a correlation from there, like what percentage of your, let's say, AI visits are converting into human visits and so on. So you can see this data. This is the data for Write for the last 7 days. We have gotten 482,000 AI visits from, different AI bots in the last like 7 days itself. It's much more than if you see, traditional Google search and everything. And when I talk about this, this is basically, so what happens is if you go to ChatGPT, right? If you ask for it for any specific prompt and it goes to the web and gets you a response, that is actually not tracked by Google Analytics. If you go and check, it would never show up there. It would only show if the user clicks on the link inside your ChatGPT or any of these other platforms. But what we are doing is we are also able to track when ChatGPT used your content to answer some question. Maybe the user didn't click on it, but it still used it to answer your question, right? So let me go deeper into this. So this is like first overall trend, in terms of the AI traffic and also human visits. So if I just disable this, you can see these many human visits in the last, let's say, 7 days. Sorry, AI visits in the last 7 days. And then I can disable this and see how many human visits we got from there. Human visits is when someone actually clicked on that citation on an AI platform. And if I scroll down here, what is interesting here you'll see is first we show the top sources. So top sources, in this case, you have things like, ChatGPT user. We also have Google. Google is a little bit sort of, it's hard to track between AI overviews versus normal Google because Google uses the normal web index for that. But if you pay attention to ChatGPT user, this is basically the normal ChatGPT. When you go and ask a question without turning on search, this is what is being used. So we got, let's say, 15,000 visits in the last 7 days from ChatGPT, AI visits, right? Then there's also Perplexity bot. There's Byte Spider. I think this is from TikTok. There's Claude bot from Anthropic. And we also specify, like differences in terms of different bots. So if you see Perplexity itself has two bots. First bot is AI assistant, which is when someone goes and asks a question on Perplexity. Second is AI search crawler also. This is where, there are slight differences. I'll share the link to the doc. You can check it out. But the differences in terms of is the AI platform using it for training their model or is it using to answer a user's query? So there are two, three kinds of different bots here. Same for if you see Anthropic AI data scraper, this specific data is being used to train the next Claude model, maybe Claude 4 or something. So you can again click on view details, see all these other ones. There's from Apple, there's from Amazon, OpenAI, all of these different ones here. And you can see AI visits. You can similarly also see human visits. How many human visits you got from that bot. There's also Mistral here, all these. You can also compare them in compare mode, like how many visits you got from there. You'll see a weird click-through rate here. That is because even if, let's say, out of 173 visits, we got these many human visits because single AI chat can have multiple citations from your same website. So if someone clicks on multiple links of your same website there, each of them is counted as a separate click. So that's why the click-through rate is quite high there. Similarly, you can track the top pages where AI models are visiting your website. You can again see human ones and so on. And you also get a summary here for the last few days. You can filter by different fields here. So this is AI traffic analytics. Gives you an overview of which bots are crawling your website, how many humans are visiting, and so on. This is the first thing. Second thing is this, which we call brand presence feature. This is not available on RightSonic yet. We are releasing this sometime next week. But since you're already part of this webinar, you'll get early access to this. So what happens here is it works a little bit differently in the sense that you can define which models you want to track. It tracks it on a daily basis. You can also define which competitors you want to track and which topics you want to track. Topics are not exactly keywords, but overall terms. Let's say if you want that almost all the responses on ChatGPT or whichever AI platform related to, let's say, SEO tool should talk about your brand. So in that case, you can set that as a topic. Similarly, you can have various other topics which are like the brand or the business terms for you. Once you set it up, what we do is every day, based on the topics, we send hundreds of queries to ChatGPT, to Perplexity, to all of these different platforms to analyze those responses and see what position you get mentioned in versus your competitors. So if you see here, the average position for us in this case is, let's say, 4.2, and the visibility score is 68.5%. So let's say if I had one topic, so across all the queries that are being asked under that topic, 68.5% of the times my brand is visible there. And if you see the graph over here, you can see visibility trends over time. And you can also compare with your competitors on a day-to-day basis, like, how the visibility has evolved over time. And you can apply certain filters here, of course. This is still a work in progress, but just to kind of show you. Secondly, you can also see a visibility share. Think of it like market share, like how much market share you have as compared to your competitors across a bunch of different, topics. So again, you can see what percentage market share you have versus some other competitor. Then brand sentiment, I was talking about digital PR and all those social sentiment and stuff. So this basically analyzes your brand's sentiment for that specific topic or across all the topics and tells you how much positive is it, how much negative, how much neutral, and then very soon you'll also be able to dig deep into it and see which specific queries it gives a negative response for, and basically go and fix those or try to fix those. And then also you can see average ranking across different topics, right? So how this has trended over time, let's say in this case last 7 days. So how has that evolved? Similarly, you can see this in a chart format also, like, what's your average position across those different topics that you're tracking. So this basically helps you in sending actual queries like a human would do and just analyzing hundreds of them on a daily basis to see that, how your brand is evolving in terms of these AI platforms. So keep an eye out on this. If you have any questions about this or would like early access for this, do type out in the comments. We'll be rolling out sort of private beta access for this starting next week. So if you're interested in trying this one out, we'll be happy to give you access. And for AI traffic analytics, this is already available. So if you just go to RightSonic and click on AI traffic analytics here, you can very well start using it for free. It's totally free to use. We don't charge anything for this one. Cool. So these were the two tools I wanted to show. Now I'll just jump back to the presentation. Last few slides, just some other metrics I wanted to share. So I'll just go back 1 second. Okay. So this I already covered. Same for this. Okay. Now let's talk about some common GEO mistakes that we are seeing happening across a lot of brands right now. So if you see right now, sorry, there are 5 things I've mentioned here based on our analysis of hundreds of websites and also certain other research papers that we delved into. So the very first thing is keyword stuffing in Q&A format. This is something almost all SEO people are used to doing. So just because you've structured content as, question and answer doesn't mean you should cram keywords into it. AI systems are able to recognize those unnatural language patterns, and most probably they'll penalize you, not in a way that Google does, but they'll not rank you in terms of not consider your content in those responses. So please don't do any keyword stuffing. Just keep it very natural, how you would, answer the query for a human. Second thing is using AI generated statistics without verification. Again, a lot of people do this. They go to ChatGPT, ask it to generate certain content or something. It mentions some made up numbers and you just include it there. This is, not good because it creates like a dangerous citation loop where, AI systems end up citing made up statistics from other AI systems. So it doesn't help there, right? Even deep research I've seen doing this where it does this big analysis, but many of those points are actually hallucinated and not actual ones. Third is focusing only on high volume topics. So this is again not about keywords. It's about getting people, the right people with the right intent to kind of see your brand and visit your brand. So in this case, the more specific the question that someone has, the more qualified they are, perhaps. So don't just focus on high volume topics. Care about the ones which are directly relevant to your customer. This could be middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Fourth thing is optimizing without measuring results. So that is something, if you don't know that you're ranking for something or how that has trended over time, it is not going to help you. So make sure you're tracking how your performance on all of these LLMs and AI systems has been over the last few days or weeks and how it is doing now so that you're able to see the progress there. And finally, trying to optimize for every AI platform at once. Almost all AI platforms have a little bit different way that they re-rank and generate a response. As we saw with Google Gemini, it was giving more preference to authoritative list sources as compared to ChatGPT, which was still using it but little bit lesser. So just make sure you start with one or two platforms. I would recommend in this case either Google AI overviews or ChatGPT, and then going to Perplexity and all of those. Perplexity and all those other ones have very, very less market share right now. So I wouldn't even recommend focusing on those right now. And yeah, so those were some common mistakes. Now, I've sort of divided the maturity level for GEO. Again, it's again evolving right now, but into these 4 different levels. So first level is the reactive stage where you're just beginning to optimize your basic content. You're seeing, let's say, less than 1% traffic coming from AI citations, and you're primarily focused on measuring like your baseline visibility to understand just the current landscape. You're not optimizing or anything. Level 2 is like strategic stage. You've implemented systematic content transformation using Q&A formats and all that, and you're seeing 1 to 3% of traffic coming from AI citations. This will again, for each of these levels, it would evolve over time. Maybe in next 3 months, this number becomes 10% and changes, but maybe 1 to 3% right now. Third is the competitive stage where you're building, cross-platform authority, different AI platforms, getting traffic from AI overviews, ChatGPT, and some of these other ones, and creating content which is much more tailored towards AI visibility and not just retrofitting existing content. And then fourth is the industry leader, where you're actually setting the standard for AI responses in your industry. And you're seeing more than 10%, 10 to maybe 30, 40% of your traffic come from AI citations. And you're also creating original research that AI systems can consistently cite and also see you as a brand authority in that specific industry. So this is like a simple 3-step action plan if you were to sort of start with generative engine optimization today. So the very first thing you should do is identify your most valuable content, as in the pages driving the conversions that answer people's questions, your direct prospects questions. So focus on topics where you can genuinely demonstrate authority. EEAT principle applies here also. So just focus on things where you can show some authority. and AI systems will increasingly, detect true expertise from there. Next thing is to optimize maybe one or two pages as a test, convert it to Q&A format, add some statistics, quotes, citations, and just focus on getting this content mentioned in certain authoritative lists, which are already, let's say, ranking for those keywords on Google, like traditional search. So that helps a lot actually. And then finally, third, keep on measuring the impact. So check AI citations before and after, monitor the traffic, conversion changes from AI to human, and then expand to more pages, like maybe 50 pages, 100 pages, and so on. So this basically step by step, it validates your geo impact on your specific piece of content. And then you can sort of scale it up as you see people using more and more of, people seeing more and more of you being present on these AI platforms. Let me leave you with some sort of these essential takeaways for this whole webinar that we just did. So first, traditional SEO and GEO, require certain different approaches. SEO aims for rankings and clicks, while GEO focuses on citations, regardless of rank. Even if you're not getting a lot of website visits, if you're getting a higher intent person seeing you mentioned on, let's say, ChatGPT or AI overviews and getting converted, that is much better than getting 100,000 visits and only less than 1% converting there, right? Second is, I think, successful geo stands on three pillars. One is structured, second is data rich QA content, and then authoritative list mentions from other websites or industry publications. So that is the second thing. And third thing is just, start small with quick wins, transform one or two pages first, monitor the results, and then scale from there. And the most important thing here is just get started today, because this thing will grow very fast in the next couple of months. So the earlier you start and take a first mover advantage, the more leverage you will have and more understanding of this whole domain you'll have as well. So yeah, that was it for this webinar. Happy to take up any questions that you have. I'll go through the Q&A. So do type your questions in the Q&A. And also right after the webinar, actually a few hours after the webinar, we'll also be sending a coupon code if you want to get Right Sonic access for any of the paid plans. Of course, you have AI traffic analytics for free, so don't worry about that. You'll also get early access to a brand presence tool, which will be releasing sometime next week. And there's also a sort of like a hefty GEO playbook that we built that you can see in this image. So we'll also be sending a PDF copy of that, which is quite intensive. It mentions a lot of the things that I just covered and even much more than that. So all of this stuff we'll be sending along with the webinar recording right after the webinar. Maybe give it a couple of hours, but yeah, after the webinar, we'll be sending all of that across. So you don't have to worry about recording or anything as such. Now I'll stop sharing my screen and maybe I'll just take up certain questions. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll start from the top. Already 65 questions our team has already answered. So we'll just quickly go through the ones which have not been answered. Is there a quick hack for generating more leads from my content? Neha Yasmin asked this. So I wouldn't recommend a quick hack. Some of these techniques that I mentioned, you should start with that for your most important content pieces and just try that. In many cases, actually, we are seeing also a lot of other people are seeing with certain tweaks, certain entities, if you're able to optimize, do it in a Q&A format, it actually ranks pretty well. So if you're already ranking for a specific topic, let's say on the first page of Google, top 5 or top 10 results, there's a very high chance that with certain optimizations, you can get yourself to rank, not rank, be mentioned on both Google AI overviews as well as also ChatGPT and some of these other platforms, because that authority is there. You're just optimizing it a bit to get ranked by these um, platforms. Okay, Akshat Gupta. Since AI learns from queries, does individual chats also matter with ChatGPT of a user about your business? For example, if I run an export business and someone talks to ChatGPT about my business in a negative way, will it impact GU? This one does not have that much of an impact. ChatGPT does have a feedback mechanism, but it's not that big of a signal that ChatGPT will take that as a training thing and give a negative bias to your product. It does not work like that. It's mostly based on training data and RAG. So training data is something that's hard for you to change. You just need to constantly ensure you have a good brand, like a positive brand. But for RAG, it's very, very important that, again, you're being mentioned on those authoritative listicles, your own blogs are being cited, and all of those things. So that plays a big role. Even Reddit forums and stuff, if you're able to optimize for and make sure that people are talking good things about you there, that should be enough. You don't have to worry about if someone gives a bad follow-up answer to ChatGPT. That does not matter that much. How is it different from Surfer SEO? Surfer SEO is a totally different thing. It's like, it's built for that on-page optimization in terms of your, keywords and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with GEO. So yeah, there's no relation there. It's like a totally different thing. And by the way, we also have a thing called SEO checker, which incorporates all the stuff that, Surfer SEO does. So you can also test it out. Interested in beta access, Nikesh? Yeah, Nikesh, so we'll be sending across that access sometime next week. You'll be receiving an email today, but there will be a follow-up email that will be sent next week once we start the beta access. Great presentation. Thank you, Jeff. Glad you liked it. A lot of people have mentioned emails. So Surabhi mentioned, in the existing scenario, how do we measure AI visibility performance of our brand? I actually shared, so there are those two tools. You can use our AI traffic analytics and also the brand presence one that will be coming across. There are not a lot of tools right now who are able to track this. So, you know, I think once we make it available next week, you'll be able to check the brand presence, but you can already install the AI traffic analytics to start seeing how many bots are coming to your website. That actually is also very useful data to see that, okay, these many bots are coming to my website, but not sending traffic to me, like not sending human traffic to me. All right. Can you teach off-page SEO? We don't focus too much on off-page SEO. There are a lot of great courses on YouTube. Maybe you can take those. There's a thing which we have on Rightsoning. It's called SEO AI Agent. It automatically integrates with Ahrefs, SEMrush, all of these platforms. So you can just go and ask any queries there. It actually automatically creates strategies and backlink, sort of which companies to reach out to for backlinks. So all of that data you can get from there. So do try that out. You wouldn't need to learn off-page SEO for that because it will give you a lot of pre-built strategies there. Um, I think Elizabeth asked, is there a similar tool in Rightsoning for optimizing for GEO? I think I already covered those two tools. Is there any specific structured data schema you would suggest that is a must-have or best to have for GEO? Basically, all the traditional ones, if you can first optimize for FAQ, is one of the most important ones. Apart from the FAQ schema, some of the other ones, like the article schema and all of those, if you can optimize for, those ones help. I think there was one research on this where someone has listed that out. So we'll send that across if we come across it again. But mostly FAQ article ones are kind of like the most important ones. Will your brand presence tool support e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce? Actually, it does not matter. It's not platform dependent because what we are doing with brand presence is we are just sending different prompts to the model on a daily basis. So it doesn't really matter what platform you use because we are just sending it to these LLM platforms like ChatGPT and all these AI overviews and all that. So it does not matter. It works for everything. Okay. Where could I find the bonus book for Geo? That will be sent across to you a couple of hours after this webinar. So you'll receive an email. Keep an eye out for that. So you'll receive the coupon code, the book there, and also brand presence one you'll receive sometime next week. Liam asked, how would you approach building a new website right now in terms of SEO and GEO? So Liam, as I mentioned, content is still very important. So I would still recommend you focus on high value content. Don't focus too much on keywords and overstuffing and all that right now, but just focus on good direct content, which is more relevant for you. Maybe bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel content. As long as you're doing some of those extra things, it will be both optimized for SEO and GEO both. So you don't have to worry too much about that right now. First start with some content and then go from there. Does GEO work for different locations? For instance, I want my website to get into more of US search. How can I do that through GEO? Right. So this one, in terms of Chat GPT, it does not matter, at least from what I understand, because there's no location filter there. The model is just trained on that, so it doesn't really matter. For Google AI overviews, it does matter though, because depending on the location that you're in, I think they do optimize generate a different response there. So for Google AI overviews, maybe it matters, but not for ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these platforms because there's no language filter there. Can I add any LLM scripts in robots text file to crawl out website faster? There's actually a new kind of robots.txt file. It's called llms.txt if you guys have not heard about it. We also have a free tool around that. The team, if we can share that link. So if you use that tool, it's a free tool. It will generate an llms.txt file for you. You just upload it on your website, and that will give some better signal to all these platforms like AI overviews, Claude, ChatGPT, to tell them that come to my website and index it in your AI training data. So if you set up that llms.txt file, it acts as that kind of it's like an opposite of a robots.txt file, but for LLMs. So that will be something that will help you a lot in this specific regard. What percentage of GEO versus SEO should be our focus now? I would still say, Google still owns a big chunk of it. So I would say probably 80-20, 80% being SEO, 20% GEO, because still the same traditional things apply. It's only that extra 20% optimization you're doing on top, like, those Q&A formats, schemas and all that, to make sure that it is also optimized for GEO. So keep focusing most of the effort on SEO, spend time on GEO, like 20% of it. And then as you start seeing results, more and more results from GEO platforms, then basically maybe shift the focus a bit and spend more time on GEO as compared to SEO. But first, keep a bit more focus on SEO for the time being. Mm, Waiting for GA4 integration. When will it come back? Not sure what this is in regards to. GA4, if you're talking about the AI traffic analytics, we are not planning to integrate GA4 there because it's like a GA4 itself for AI bots. So that is something that won't be coming up there. But in SU Agent, we are coming up with GA4 integration if that is of interest. So you'll be able to automatically query and it will be able to create strategies based on your GA4 data. Sorry. Is zero-click traffic part of GEO? Right. So what happens if I showed this? A lot of the times, what will happen is even though the AI platform crawls your website and uses that to create a response, it's possible that people won't actually click on those citations. They'll just read it and then they'll just go to Google and directly search for that brand. So it might not be attributed, but still people are finding you through ChatGPT or any of these other platforms. We have been seeing that because if you have, let's say, a simple onboarding form on your website where you ask user, where did you hear about us? And you maybe add a field there for AI platforms like ChatGPT and stuff, you'll probably start seeing that more and more people are filling ChatGPT there because they found you on ChatGPT rather than like the traditional Google search there. So yeah, can we generate leads through Geo? I mean, of course, yeah. If people are coming to you, discovering you through these geo platforms, of course, you'll generate leads. You'll get a lot of people. In fact, in the last 1 month, I think we have been tracking, and quite a few of the people who have come to us have mentioned that they have found us through some ChatGPT prompt or maybe some Claude or something prompt as well. So it does generate leads. Yeah. Yeah. Why does AI hallucinate? So that's inherent to the models itself. That is where the RAG thing comes into play. So all of these new platforms, if you see ChatGPT also added search, that's meant to reduce hallucination because it is able to directly take it from the search results, which are much more factually accurate than the training data, which might be like a couple of months or years old. So RAG is like a simple solution for that. And that's how almost every company right now is trying to incorporate it to reduce the number of hallucinations there. All right, I think we have a few more. We'll just cover last maybe 10, 15 questions and then we'll wrap it up. Team, also, if you can pick up a few questions. Rest of them, yeah, if we are not able to cover your questions, please feel free to, reach out at support@rightsonic.com with any query you have. Just mention GEO webinar in the subject line and we'll be happy to answer those there. But we'll try to cover as many as possible here itself. Um, I would like to ask, as you suggest, how could I post a content which is readable or recommended by AI? It's picking up stupid web suggestions. I think, again, if you go through the things I mentioned, also the Geo playbook, you'll find certain uh, strategies that we covered, also those 5 strategies. If you just do some of those or all of those, that is a very strong signal for Google or any of these other platforms to actually index you and show you there. Second, one of the biggest one, as I mentioned, is just those listicles and overall your um, PR and your brand authority there. So just focus on that also. Like overall, you should be mentioned by multiple listicles and stuff. That will significantly increase your chances of being picked up by these AI models. Your AI traffic analytics looks good. Is it free for now? Are you planning to charge? So this is free for now. For most websites, we are not planning to charge. Maybe if you get a lot of traffic, which is blowing up our server costs, like millions of visits every month, only in that case, maybe we'll release a not too expensive, maybe a small paid plan for that, but it would still be part of Rightsonic. It's not a separate thing. So yeah, but it is free for most cases as long as you're not getting like a huge amount of traffic, which is blowing out our servers there. How is it going to impact for news website? What should be the right approach? For news websites, I think it depends. I think if you're able to build that authority for, or if you already have authority for your new news websites, is actually quite good because when the model uses RAG and someone asks something on a trending topic, if you're already ranking in the top 10 or in Google News or something, it's much more likely to be picked up there. So just make sure you're optimizing for those things, that those question answer format, that is very, very important for a news website. And then also, the structured schemas and all those things. So if those 2, 3 things you're able to optimize for, that would help, especially the Q&A format for a news website would be quite helpful there. How is Geo page authority differs from traditional SEO page authority? This is actually something it's debatable right now. No one has cracked this yet. Uh, so I don't have an answer to that yet. But the authority here, I would say that Geo also takes your normal domain authority or your domain rating as a big factor there. So if you're already ranking, for example, for certain things or already have an authority, it's a very good signal that Geo would be much easier for you than some website which is like 10 or 20 DR there. So actually it helps if you have a good traditional SEO DR. But yeah, Geo specific page authority, no one has defined that term yet. So we are yet to see that. Can I use this tool to find out who my comment? Yeah, absolutely. So when you use the brand presence one, you can actually see, you can add your own competitors, but at the same time, you can also see which competitors the LLM thinks and mentions along with you. So that would actually help you figure out that, oh, ChatGPT also mentions these 2, 3 websites, or maybe some of them even above my ranking. So then you can potentially go and do certain optimizations, work with certain other listicles or authority sites to increase your own brand presence so that you rank a bit higher there. Okay. Our business target is very broad, like single or double term cybersecurity. Optimize this specific topic for Geo. So I think in this case, I would say rather than going for that kind of a keyword like just cybersecurity, first focus on those long tail keywords. If you're able to rank for those long tail keywords or able to write very good content for those long tail keywords, that would give you a much better impact in a lesser amount of time. So first start with that, like bottom of the funnel or middle of the funnel long tail keywords, and then go to broad terms like cybersecurity and all that. Otherwise, it would be very hard to rank for that or even get mentioned in Geo for that. So just focus on those longer term queries, because that the model LLMs can directly pick, and maybe even if you don't rank in top 5 for it, it can still pick and answer it because your content is good. LLMs are not trained in real time, so if you were to start GTO, what will be an average time frame to see results? So that's what I mentioned. Actually, there are two ways the models work. If you go and try on ChatGPT, if you don't turn on search, for most things which it can answer without searching, that is based on training data. But now increasingly what is happening, even if in the normal GPT-4o, if you go and try a query, it will automatically go to web and figure out certain sources, citations, and then answer your query for you. So it is actually taking those responses or those pages into account for answering a question. So yeah, the time frame, it actually changes quite frequently, because if let's say your rankings change in the top 10 or 20 on normal SERP, it's possible that your GEO rankings might change a bit, not too much, but a bit there as well. So it is kind of real time if you talk about those search engine specific chat platforms like Perplexity, Google AI overviews, and all those. Do you think AI chatbots will lead to a decline in search engine user? Most probably, yes. There are certain studies around this. I think Gartner predicted that by 2025 or 2025, 2026, I think, that there would be a significant decline in search traffic. And that is why Google is releasing that AI chat mode actually, because of the same reasons, because people just prefer chat and sending follow-up questions much more than, like those blue links. How can I track if I don't have access to the server, if site is hosted in Lovable, for example? Um, I think this is something, if you can reach out to our support, we can try to figure out a solution. Like I think Lovable websites are hosted on top of Vercel. So we do have a Vercel integration. Maybe that would help. Or if you can set up Cloudflare with Lovable, that might help. If you can just reach out at support@rightsonic.com, our tech team can help out there. What about the concerns around AI generated content not being good for search results? I think this we have covered before also. As long as your content has some factual data, it is answering the actual user intent and not fluff and that robotic kind of writing that ChatGPT does. It doesn't matter, if it is giving value. So if your content is giving value, then it will be cited by these different LLMs or traditional search results. Also, we are seeing it. If you go and check our website on Ahrefs, you'll see a lot of our AI generated blogs are ranking uh, on various different queries. A long question from Vikas Jha. With Google's AI overview fundamentally shifting how search results are presented, it's a direct threat to traditional SEO. I mean, as I covered, right? So basically the content is not going anywhere. It's just how you structure content, what forms of content will evolve. No one knows the right answer to that, but we just need to evolve along with Google and all these platforms. That's the only thing there. So we can't be sitting and just keep evolving them with them. That's the important thing for now. How can we rank better on AI overview for travel industry, since it's again same thing as I mentioned before, focus on long tail keywords. That is going to help you in the short term, and then you can go to bigger queries once you start ranking for a lot of longer tail ones. Any tips specifically related to B2B businesses? Same thing applies. We are also B2B business. So if you're able to focus on, highly relevant, again, first of all, long tail or bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel kind of queries first, rather than focusing too much on top of the funnel, that would be quite helpful for, AI search engines. And then, once you have some authority there and you start getting cited more, then you can focus on, bigger terms as well in your industry. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter whether you're B2B or B2C. The only thing you should be concerned about is your Captera, your all this Trust Pilot, and all those reviews should be good, and you should have a good brand presence on the web and in terms of PR as well. Um, do AI tools mainly work based on the AEO technology? AEO is same as GEO. Different people are calling it different things. So I just already covered that. Would industry expert YouTube embedded in blogs also act as an authority indicator like quotes and stats? YouTube embedded there, it would help. I'm not 100% sure if Google is able to, parse it, but maybe if you're able to somehow add a transcript there along with the video, that would be quite good so that, the model can index that. So yeah, do test that out. I think adding some transcript would help there. YouTube would also definitely help, but because Google is not going to, view the whole video, so adding a transcript along with that would be also much better there. Does this GEO tool integrate with Sonic AI agent and all that? Not at the moment, but yeah, once we release it next week, probably a week or two after that, we'll be bringing it inside SEO agent as well. So anything that you're doing manually, you can just go and ask questions directly on our SEO agent, and it will be able to pull in data directly from your brand presence or your AI traffic analytics there. So everything will be integrated. We just added SEMrush integration today, for example. Okay, how can we rank better for travel industry? Okay, this we covered. Robots.txt also I already covered. Use llms.txt. What resources do you recommend to keep on top of this topic industry-wide, like studies being done, etc.? It's kind of spread out at the moment. And there are certain companies who are doing good research. You can check out our blog, for example, the Sonic blog. There's also Spark Toro. They are doing good research there. And there's another one I mentioned, which is, I think, First Page Sage. So these three resources I would suggest for now. Rest the again the it's a very early market, so I'm not sure of any other bigger ones. But yeah, these three, if you can keep an eye out on, that would be good. How can we discover the subqueries that an AI uses to search the web, like Perplexity does? This would be covered as part of our brand presence tool. So the next phase there is that you'll be able to see the topic-wide breakdown of those queries or those topics. So you can see for which topic, which queries are bringing our, ranking, what's your average ranking for those, how much brand presence you have across each of those queries. So that will be covered there in the, next update that we are releasing there. Okay, let's see any ones that we have not already answered. What about the optimization for AI voice agents? It's similar thing. It again, if you see the new Alexa update and all that, it's again taking it from these systems only. So if you saw our AI traffic analytics, there's also a new Amazon bot now that is crawling websites. So as long as you're doing these same things, it will also be using RAG in a similar way. It's just voice based instead of text based, but still it uses all the same concepts there. Um, Just like keyword research, is there any way where I can see the types of queries people are asking in generative engines? I just already mentioned. So a topic explorer is something we are coming up with in the brand inside the brand presence tool itself very soon. You'll be able to see all of this there. If anyone has a recommendation, good backlink services, not sure. Trying to persuade my boss to use Sonic. What are the top 3 points to include in an email? One is GEO. Two, check out our SEO AI agent that already automates a lot of the stuff. You don't need Ahrefs subscription. You don't need SEMrush subscription. And third, check out our SEO audit agent. And fourth, also our article writer. It's like the most advanced, article writing product. So it follows many of these GEO practices already. So it will help you quite a bit. So I hope that was a good elevator pitch there. What new challenges and opportunities will arise in the field of GEO in the coming years? No one knows, to be honest. We'll see how that goes. But we'll be doing these webinars and we will be releasing tools around this. So make sure you stay in touch and we'll make sure that you're always up to date. I think that covers almost all of the questions. We'll wrap this up. And yeah, do look out for an email from us later today where you'll receive all the resources I just mentioned. And if you are looking for early access to our brand presence tool, we'll be sharing that early next week in a different email. AI traffic analytics, you can already try out on Sonic for free. Also, try out SEO AI agent as some people were mentioning. You don't need to pay for Ahrefs, SEMrush, and all these subscriptions because we already integrate and automate a lot of those workflows. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks a lot for joining and see you in the next one.